Good afternoon, everyone. It's connected. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Our first speaker of the day, we have Dr. DVSS sir. Sir is easily one of the most favorite professor of every AAA student out there, because sir actually managed to inculcate everything that a student needs apart from just theoretical rote learning. It's life skills that matter at the end of the day, which is exactly why the topic of sir's whole podcast today is a glimpse into life. Uh, so, I remember you talking about lifelong learning in our class. Can you explain what lifelong learning is and give a small glimpse into that?
Absolutely. In fact, I was guessing when association they asked me. Possibly, I thought somebody from third year must have been in the background. So my guess is right. Yeah. So essentially, let me. I wanted to focus on the two aspects. One is first, as a student, as an engineer, as a human being, why we all should be good at continuous learning. The second aspect is, as a student, how do a student engage himself or herself to inculcate the habit of continuous learning with some of the success stories of your seniors who have passed through the BTech curriculum at NIT Warangal. So here, when I say the lifelong learning, let me make things very clear first. So the learning has a different people have a different perceptions. The learning takes place in three domains. One is the um, cognitive domain, that is what we call as a thinking. The learning takes place in the cognitive domain means it affects our thinking thought process. The learning affects in the affective domain, that means it's the ability to feel. We feel that there's something is excites you, you are motivated to do that. That's what is the learning in the affective domain. The third one is a learning in a psychomotor domain. That is what the ability to do the things, right? So when I am saying that the learning is not simply able to remember and reproduce, I am not considering it as a learning. So learning is it should if I can say only a student learning has taken place if and only if there is a changing in his thought process, there is a change in his beliefs, change in his feelings, and there is a change in his abilities to do things. Only then we can say the learning has taken place. When I am saying that learning, lifelong learning, and a continuous learning, I mean the learning in all these three domains: affective domain, cognitive domain, as well as in the psychomotor domain, right? But now if you look at why importance of this continuous learning, let me speak few minutes on the importance of this continuous learning or a lifelong learning. In fact, if you look at the graduate attributes of NBA graduate attributes for all the programs at NIT Warangal, we'll mention that one of them, the graduates who are coming out of the NIT Warangal, they develop the skill of lifelong learning. That is because that is one of the criteria for NBA to accredit the programs of what all of you are going through. And then let me say the background, thanks to digitalization and globalization, and these are the two domains which are affecting our the human life in the way we live, the way we collaborate, the way we do business. It is affecting us. These two effects, these two, digitalization, globalization, is affecting us in all domains. The global economy is changing in time as we move from, if we look at the agricultural revolution towards the industrial revolution to the information revolution, now towards the innovative revolutions. So what is the changes that is taking place is in terms of, for example, if you look at when you start moving from information revolution, the large scale vertical businesses have collapsed. So no longer very large scale vertical businesses no longer can survive with this information revolution, and hence this made the way for the small scale business to come up, right? That is one of the important changing agent that has affected us. In this scenario, we are moving from another, the change is taking place is we are moving from a knowledge economy to a creative economy. That means the organizations who are employing the students are employing their future employees. They must possess, they look forward no longer the knowledge what they have, but what they can do with the knowledge what they possess, right? So essentially, since we are moving from the way we look at the organizations, there's a paradigm shift is taking place the way the organizations are working today. But previously, the organizations were a large scale organizations where the product cycle or a service cycle is long enough, where let's say I have a 5-year cycle or 10-year cycle on this particular product. So I train the manpower in this kind of scenario, and then so that I can make business out of that, and so on. But now, thanks to the information revolution, where the technologies are changing so fast, so no longer I say that what the product cycle, life cycle of a product, life cycle of a service has come down drastically. So in this scenario, the continuous, the earlier gone are the days where organizations used to train their manpower to meet their requirement, and then they continue to serve the organization with that skill. But no longer, the organizations cannot afford to do that now. So directly what they're looking for is the students who are able to keep changes with the technologies and keep the ability to learn new things, what is required, so that they can deliver the goods to the organization. That's the reason why the organizations are looking for, because of the changes in the economy, the organizations are looking for the students who are capable of learning on their own, learning the changing in the thought process, the learning continuously ability to learn, and so on and so forth. They're looking for that. So if in fact, if we say, let me quote with the requirement, with the supplement this my point with Alvin Taffler. He's a famous author of a book, very famous book on future shock. He's an author, he's a businessman, and he's a great futurist, American futurist. He has quoted, the illiterate of the 21st century is not the one who cannot read and write, but who cannot learn, who cannot unlearn, and who cannot relearn. He is the one who is unable to learn, relearn, and unlearn, cannot call himself or herself as a literate of 21st century. In other words, that speaks about the volumes, about the skill set required for the students to future engineers to learn, ability to learn, relearn, and unlearn. Now, if you in fact, if you are looking at the way you spend time, and I don't hesitate to say that possibly you may all looking forward what is the institution is looking at. Institution is providing us the chances in terms of learning, the ability to learn, the unlearn and relearn. Yes, I mean to a certain extent, possibly there is a change limitations with the system itself, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the student who is coming out of the institution, it matters how you are able to cope up with this in spite of what institute, what account, what institute has provided and all that. It becomes a secondary, but ability, what you are able to do, what you are able to deliver is what it matters at the end of the day. Towards that, possibly the institute, let me quote some of the, when I say learning, the student must focus on real with an interest of understanding and learn the new things, and then possibly try to see the implications of this learning on the future. So please don't focus on simply remembering and reproducing and getting the grades. Unfortunately, I advise all my young friends, don't focus on this. The grading is most important aspect, no doubt about it, but simply focusing on remembering and whatever cost it is, simply getting the grades, and that's the end of the life. Not the case, because we see quite a few batches. I'm sure Naveen Indala can supplement. We are seeing batch after batches of the students who are passing out with the excellent, the dream jobs, and going out with a lot of good packages and so on. But then doesn't create a satisfaction at the end of it. But possibly at the end of the 3 years or 4 years down the line, they look for, this is not something what we are looking for. There may be something else, start exploring, and then whether should go for MS, should go for any other startups and so on. There are so many people, right? And in Naveen Indala and other batch, there are quite a good number of innovators that are coming out. They are spending much of their contributing to their societal growth. So in this particular scenario, in fact, the institute is, let me state, earlier, this is something like, I'm sure all of you are associated with the Innovation Garage and Skylark Labs, Amarjot Singh, right? You all heard about him. In fact, I am a direct witness to the batch of Amarjot Singh batch. There he was from electrical engineering, but he has mastered as an undergraduate student. He has gone into Asia Book of Records as a most number of publications published by an undergraduate student from any academic institution. So he has published so many papers, and not only he, and there are about 10 to 15 students of that particular batch from cutting across the disciplines, electrical, some of them from mechanical, some of them from EC and computer science. They all formed a group, what is known as Illuminati, and then they started working on, in fact, I was a witness for them directly. They were looking for like something like we all fortunate to have an innovation garage where people can come and sit and spend time to deliberate and discuss and develop the product or services and so on. But earlier it was not the case, where the students used to live in the seminar. For example, electrical department seminar hall, they used to spend, there are days where the students used to continuously sit in the seminar hall for 24 hours, 48 hours continuously, this group of people discussing and working on that. And then possibly most of them, they have developed in fact, quite a few of those particular group of Illuminati, they're all in flying colors. Amarjot Singh is one such example where he was leading that particular group of Illuminati. And likewise, there are so many other, along with him, there are so many other people, Devendra and other people who are working with them. They're all coming with the flying colors today, what I am seeing, right? So essentially, the point what I want to drive is that you have to make use of your time to develop whatever be the passion. They were all passionate about doing some research. They were all passionate about a certain image processing and application of image processing for innovative societal problems. They were working on that, and possibly all that has led to inculcate make them the strong foundations, and whatever their achievements today, it speaks volumes about them. It started from the journey back into their student days. So the point what I want to drive is, as a student, you have the opportunities like IG, and also another opportunity that the institute is providing is engineering projects in community service. Am I overturning the timing, Avinash? Avinash, please remind the time.
No, sir. We have 3 to 5 more minutes that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is a time towards your left, right?
Oh, okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. I'll conclude. Right. So, for example, engineering projects in community service. In fact, we have started this in the institute, but essentially today's products or services, whatever you think of, they're highly interdisciplinary in nature. They are no longer electrical engineering product. You look at, for example, look at your any mobile device or any device, it doesn't have any branch of engineering. That branch of engineering, what you have is essentially to learn some basic concepts, rudimentary concepts in this, but ultimately when it comes to the business, when it comes to the product and services, they become interdisciplinary. So today's, for example, if you have any electrical engineering students of second year or third year, you may appreciate today's power systems are highly interdisciplinary knowledge. So you name big data analytics, what do you think is the computer's domain? No longer. It's a very much part of the power systems. If you think of machine learning and artificial intelligence, fuzzy logic, all these evolutionary algorithms, no longer this is a domain of computer science. Is essentially an important part of the power system engineers. And so signal processing, yes, you name most of the developments that is taking place in the technologies, and you should be first enough to understand and how those technologies can be deployed to solve the problems in which I'm working, so that when I'm working for an organization or working for a startup, either the solution is able to provide me or not, how well they are able to cope up to that technology, to the economy, through that product, is something what I am going to contribute. So that's what the people are looking at, and hence it is engineering projects in community service is essentially designed to see that the interdisciplinary teams, somebody from chemical engineering, somebody from biotechnology, somebody from electrical engineering will come together. For example, the battery technologies, battery charging management. There are so many problems, interdisciplinary problem. There are some quite good number of problems which have been solved by the students who are part of the EPICS. And then, of course, Naveen is one. There are some number of startup companies the people who have worked in the EPICS with that experience, with that innovative thought process. The people are coming up with the different solutions, in their own domain, not necessarily. But what is important is the student must soil their hands, soil their minds in terms of looking at observe the problems that the society is facing, looking at the problems the industry is facing, how I can solve that problem, make a prototype. In fact, by going through this epics kind of a cycle, where you are identifying the problem, you are trying to specify what is the kind of a solution, you are designing a prototype, and then the entire product cycle, what an engineer is undergoing when he joins an industry, is undergoing through this particular kind of a projects. In fact, IZ has been started keeping those things in mind. So I encourage all of you to participate actively in IZ, make use of the resources. You're all fortunate to have the resources, quite a good number of resources, and the people to mentor are available now. And we look forward, the students do wonderful things. Make you start enjoying. Somebody may be interested in some area research, somebody may be interested in entrepreneurship, somebody may be interested in startup or some whatever it is. Please identify your strength and see that you are going to spend your time on the learning and be passionate about doing things, and then make use of the best, and then ultimately that's going to be a launching pad for you to move forward. So with this, I'll be very happy if you have any questions. Though I wish that I have more time to talk to you all. Thank you, Avinash.
Thanks a lot, sir. Guys from the audience, if you guys have any question, please type it on the all chat and we'll go through it. So I had this one question. Like throughout childhood, even till let's say 12th grade, right? People are used to learning. They're fine with constantly learning. But the moment they come into college and by the time they graduate and once they get their job, they actually forget about learning lifelong. Why do you think this happens? When for majority of their childhood, they've been learning, why do they forget such an important thing once they graduate?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The learning happens in the affective domain. The second aspect is affective domain. For example, in a child, when a child starts, if you all recall any of the child, you have your own, consult your parents. When child starts walking, you see that there's a lot of enthusiasm exhibited by your parents. Yes, my child started walking, and then everybody claps, and that motivates the child, right? So he will try to, the child will like to, there is some appreciation, he try to do that, repeat that number of times, right? That is his joy of learning. Now what happens is, over a period of time, as you grow up, you are mentally conscious enough. That's the reason why people say that a child in you should live for a longer time, even if you become old, because that curiosity and anxiousness is something what you should drive you throughout your life, right? But possibly that the learning is not happening in the affective domain. So there is no motivation, there is no firm belief that yes, the learning is going to help me. So those kind of because the learning is stopped only at the psychomotor domain, the learning is not happening in the affective domain. That is the reason why the people lose motivation towards it.
Right. I think that should better equip our attendees over here and even those who listen to the podcast to become a conscious learner. I think one key takeaway from whatever Sir said is, when you're sitting down and you have nothing to do, just ask yourself, did I learn anything new today? Am I in the path of learning something tomorrow? If the answer for either of those is no, chances are that you've stopped learning. And that is when you go back to the drawing board and figure out what you want to learn. And that, I think, is something you need to keep in the back of your mind to the whole journey of Impact Tank also. And not just Impact Tank, your whole life. That is something that you guys need to keep definitely in the back of your mind. Once again, thanks a lot, sir. It was really inspirational. And I think a lot of people got into a very good understanding of how to become a lifelong learner.
Yeah, thank you.